Welcome to the Cinema of Ideas, the Independent Cinema Office virtual screen, a creative and discursive cinema space for us to do interesting curatorial things, as well as offering us the chance to collaborate with people and cinemas whose work we really appreciate. And if you want to find out more about the Cinema of Ideas, go to cinemaideas.org.uk. My name's Selena, and I am the Cinema of Ideas organizer and co-curator. Just in case some of you don't know about the ICO, we're the UK's national body in support of independent cinemas of all forms, and our activities include programming, training and events. And you can find out more about our work at independentcinemaoffice.org.uk. A special welcome to audiences from our partner cinemas across the UK and audiences from our ICO network and communities, and to those of you who have found us for the first time. Thank you to the BFI awarding funds from the National Lottery for funding this project. A few housekeeping things to mention before we begin. This event is being live captioned and recorded, and thank you to Judith for being our captioner this evening. Thank you also always to my colleague Sammy from the ICO who's doing the tech. The discussion will last about 40 to 45 minutes with time left at the end for comments and questions. But if you want to get involved in the conversation before, please do feel free to post comments in the chat and Sammy will pass them on to our panel. And we will finish promptly at 7 o'clock GMT time. Our next Cinema of Ideas event will be streaming from the 24th of March for 2 weeks. And we're really delighted to present Visibility Animated, a season of short films and talks curated by Louise M. Milson. The season shines a light on animation amidst the growing recognition for the need of greater disabled representation in cinema, as well as highlighting the importance of making animation accessible for disabled audiences. And for more information about that season, please go to our website or check our social media because the season will be going live for booking quite soon. Finally, I wanted to let you know that we're building an archive of the Cinema of Ideas discussions, which are free to view on the ICO's YouTube channel. And our discussion this evening, which is being recorded, will be available on YouTube in due course. So I'm now really delighted to introduce this evening's main event, Hamro Katha, showcasing the work of Nepali women filmmakers. The season has been curated by our current cohorts of FEDS trainees, and I'd like to name them because they've been amazing. So they are Aga Pradhan, Asif Vaharia, Eliza Seeley, Patrice Robinson, and Tanya Charteris Black. And it's been a real honor for me to work with the group. And I really look forward to seeing what they're going to do next in terms of programming passions and ideas. And I just want to thank them because I've really enjoyed working with them. And now I'm going to hand over to Aga because it was her idea. She came up with the idea for the season, and she's been absolutely brilliant with kind of leading from the front through the whole process and bringing these films to our attention and the talent that of the filmmakers who most of them are with us this evening. So Aga, I'm delighted to hand over to you now.
Hello, my name's Agya and I'm one of the FEDS trainees currently based at home in Manchester. Hamro Katha is a short program that I curated alongside my cohort of FEDS trainees, and it aims to highlight the work of Nepali women filmmakers. It's not often that you see Nepalese films in popular media, and even less so Nepalese films made by women. So I thought the program would be a way to challenge that and platform the creativity and talent of Nepali women filmmakers. The shorts program features 6 titles, many of which place Nepali women at the center of the narratives, capturing their experiences and exploring the challenges they face as women in Nepalese society. Through these films, I hope audiences are able to gain insight into contemporary Nepalese culture and are also introduced to the wealth of talent present in Nepal's film scene. I'd like to now introduce our host for the evening, Prasna Dongal. Prasna is a documentary filmmaker from Kathmandu. She's one of the co-founders of Nepali Female Filmmakers and DocLab coordinator at Kathmandu International Mountain Film Festival. She also works as a filmmaker mentor for the Camera Sikha project run by British Council Nepal. And she's currently working on a documentary, which is an exploration of intergenerational ideologies of 3 women.
Thank you so much, Akia. Hello, everyone. Warm greetings from Nepal. My name is Prasna, and I'd like to welcome everyone who's watching us live today, and also to those watching the recorded version of the discussion. I'm here from Nepali Female Filmmakers, which is a platform organized by Nepali women actively working in creative fields such as films. The initial idea of establishing this platform was to connect, collaborate, and provide platforms for women within the industry in Nepal. But in the recent months, we've been teaming up with different organizations, and which is amazing. Anyway, and today we have 5 amazing and talented filmmakers, in fact 6 filmmakers who I've had a chance to know them personally as well. And being a filmmaker myself, I take inspirations from the work they've been doing. So thank you so much for joining us today. Their films are currently streaming online on Cinema of Ideas website. So if you've not watched it yet, please feel free to watch them after this session. And also please feel free to write down any questions or comments for the filmmakers, and they'd be happy to answer. And now I'd like to quickly introduce the filmmakers, and then maybe we can go around learning about their aspirations and talking a little bit about their film as well. So now I'd like to introduce Asmita Shrish, who is the co-director of Chandra. She's based in Nepal and in UK as well. She is the alumni of Berlinale Talents and Asian Film Festival, a crew member of BAFTA and a fellow of IDFA Academy as well. Then we have LSM, who is a filmmaker from Western Nepal. He is a media studies graduate from Kathmandu University School of Arts, and has been making his film independently and also in collaboration with Gautali Entertainment. Then we have Pinki Rana. She is working as a culture and arts reporter from one of the national newspaper of Nepal. She is the presenter, researcher, and conceptualizer of a show Tarka Bitarka on YouTube. She is developing her first short documentary as well, and I'm really curious to know about that one as well. LSM and Pinki has worked together in their film Hajur, which we will be discussing in a minute. Then we have Sikuma. She is a multimedia storyteller based in Nepal. Sikuma used to work in Nepali news media as a multimedia journalist, and she is currently involved in making a feature-length film, and she's also joining us today from location right now. Her documentary, Come Over for a Drink Kanchii, has received a jury's special mention in Kathmandu International Mountain Film Festival, and was also nominated for a short film award at the One World Media Awards UK last year. Then we have Yajaswi Rai. She is development study graduate from Kathmandu University. She has been an active youth and gender activist for a very long time now, almost 7 years, I guess. And her films always carry a central theme, which is on gender and youth. Then we also have Sue Carpenter, who is the director of I Am Bill Maya, an award-winning film. And one of the film made by Bill Maya is also streaming online on Cinema of Ideas with the name Stronger. So let me just start the Q&A by asking a few questions, maybe first to Sikuma. Yes, hi Sikuma, how are you?
Thank you for your lovely introduction, Prasna.
So
good.
let me just, yes, sorry, you were saying something?
Good. I'm doing good. How about you?
Very well. Hi, Bill Maya, she's here as well. I can finally see her. Okay, so Sikuma, I understand this is your personal film, and of course, very personal for those who are in the film itself as well. I really loved your film, Come Over for a Drink, Kanchii. I've watched it a couple of times myself. And for those who've yet to watch, Come Over for a Drink, Kanchii is also streaming online. Sikuma, maybe we could start by just talking about your film, and if you could just give a little background on your film itself and how was the journey, how has the journey been so far, like documenting, filming, and also screening at the same time?
Mm-hmm. When I started this project, I thought it more as a multimedia project for a journalism piece, you know. So when I started, I did not think it would become a documentary that also could go to film festivals. So it just started as a motivation to find my own truth about alcoholism in our culture or in our community. So my film, for those who have not seen, is about these women from my ancestor village and the reasons behind their alcohol addiction. So I grew up in a family where my parents kind of had started to avoid alcohol and the use of alcohol in rituals or say culturally, right? So I had developed this opinion that maybe alcohol is really bad, or to intake alcohol, it's totally out of your morality. So, and also because there was certain kind of perspective towards those who use alcohol in our community. So in a way, it started as my effort to try to understand my own culture and to find my own truth. So yeah, that's how my film started. And yeah.
Did your perception change at the end? Maybe like, did you have certain expectation before going to your village and filming, and then later on, did your like views or perception changed in any ways?
Yes, I think the best part of filming, or specifically documentary filmmaking, is that since you're confronting or investigating something totally new, it always changes your perspective at the end of the filming, or even after screening and whatnot, right? So definitely it changed. I think it changed my whole perspective about use of alcohol and about the women in our community in a way that I did not think I could relate to them more before filmmaking or filming. So in that case, it definitely changed. And I think I fell in love with documentary filmmaking more after filming it. Yeah, in a gist, I can say that. Yeah, it definitely.
Like, you know, like regardless of what your film is about, really, like I when I was watching it, I like actually could see a kind of a safe space for these women itself in the film, like, which is rarely available in our society, I guess, you know, to come and like to be able to come and talk about things which they might not be able to talk comfortably about, you know. Do you agree that like they had kind of a like safe space to have these kind of conversation?
Yes, definitely. This is also a part of the answer to the previous question about expectation regarding the topic I approached, because I did not think that I would focus solely on women from our community while before filming. It is something that I came to know or realized that I needed to give some space or more focused space towards for the women during the investigation. So, and it took a lot of effort as well to have the women open up to me, or to create create a safe space for them, because everything, the answers are there, input were very personal. So I had to create an environment that they could trust me, and also that I could trust them with their answers. So yeah, but
And maybe it was also, you know, helpful for you, like you being the part of that community as well. So maybe they were more open towards like talking about it with you as well.
It was more of like being an insider, but still feeling like an outsider at in the first time. But after a lot of conversations and spending time with them and trying to express my intentions on filming, I think they kind of trusted me. So it was a process with intention, I'd say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sikuma. I'd like to move on to Bilmaya and Sue as well. Hi, Sue. Hi, Bilmaya. Bilmaya's film is also screening in Cinema of Ideas currently, and I Am Bilmaya, another feature documentary, which was co-directed by Bilmaya and Sue herself, is also doing a physical round in the festival as well, right? Sue, right, Bilmaya?
Yeah.
Tell us how's the experience been so far for you both?
Gosh, it's been so busy because we're actually in Kathmandu at the moment, and we've just done 5 screenings in 3 days, 2 today, wow. 2 the day before, and you know how long it takes to get from one side of Kathmandu to the other. So we've been doing a lot of kind of whizzing back and forth, but they've been very moving, and Belmaya's, you know, had quite a roller coaster of emotions, I think, meeting different people and getting the reactions about her story.
Belmai, are you like your film, which is a short film like Stronger, is do you want to explain a little bit about that film as well? Like because it seemed to me that you used quite a few clips from your previous documentary as well. And it was very different, obviously, differently edited as well in terms of like making and everything. Could you just tell us a bit about it, like what inspired you to make that? And I know that Sue's daughter was also in the making of the film. How did you two come about in making it?
Is it okay if Belmaya, if you just ask in Nepali and she answers in Nepali, and then you can briefly translate what she says?
Yeah, that's no problem. So Belmaya, hi, सन्चै हुनुहुन्छ?
हजुर नि
तपाईको जुन चाहिँ फिल्म बनाउनु भयो नि तपाईले यो स्ट्रङ्गर भन्ने छोटो थियो नि त पहिला पनि तपाईले दुईटा बनाइसक्नु भयो हैन अनि यो चाहिँ त्यो भन्दा कसरी अलग भिन्दै थियो हैन र तपाईलाई चाहिँ यो बनाउन के कुराले गरेर चाहिँ यो बनाउनु मन लागेको भनेर बुझ्नु मन थियो
यो चाहिँ मेरो भन्दा पनि उहाँको छोरीको बारेमा थियो हैन योमा चाहिँ अब उहाँको छोरीले गीत गाउनु भएको र उहाँको छोरीले त्यो गीतमा चाहिँ जे भनेको छ हामीले त्यसको लागि मात्रै फलो गरेको हजुर त्यही
So Belma, she's saying that the lyrics was written by Sue's daughter, and so they compiled the entire footage so that it could like go well with the music as well, right? I think like I really hope that you continue making films, you know, like because I've seen you, I've known you very personally as well, and we've had a good time, spent good time together as well. So it was really nice to see that film as well, and I hope like you continue making it. Also, topical, yeah, Sue, go on.
No, well, Carrie, I was just going to say, well, yes, partly about that was, you know, that the whole kind of theme was meant to be about the sort of joy and freedom of girls, what they really want to be, who they want to be, and about wanting to break free of societal constraints and parental chains and be themselves. So it was kind of Simi, my daughter, singing, and the lyrics, as you say, and Belmaya getting together to kind of see how to represent that, and Belmaya doing the visuals. And you mentioned some of the past footage. Actually, that was in the edit that I selected a few because it needed the balance between the sort of modern girls that Belmaya had shot and the sort of modern representation of what girls want. It needed that sort of traditional old style. So I took some footage that she'd done before in 2014 of Tej Festival of women just sort of trudging round in a circle, wearing their typical, you know, saris and a festival sort of array, and just to contrast that traditional sort of conforming to society with the sort of modern girl. That upcoming.
Yeah. It's truly been such an amazing journey, I guess, for Bill Maya, and even for you, Sue. You've known her since like she was little, you know.
Yes,
as well. Yeah. So I think you're also screening tomorrow, today, I think, in Kathmandu, somewhere in the cafe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have other like plans into screening some more films of Bill Maya as well?
Yeah, so ICO FEDS Maya is sort of internationally on the circuit. Her other films, I tend to sort of have been, some of the Stronger is also on a festival circuit. It's been in the States at Tasvir South Asian Film Festival, and a few others coming up. So, you know, they're sort of ticking around, and then, yeah, they're kind of available on demand for people who've seen the ICO FEDS Maya screenings. Nearly always say, oh, I'd love to see her other films, and then I kind of send them private links to them, but they're sort of searchable around and about. Not Stronger yet, but her other two films. But yeah, sorry, Bill Maya, you were going to say something to her.
Bill Maya, के भन्नु छ तपाईलाई अझ अरु के?
अनि ठिकै छ.
Okay, I'll just move on to Asmita. Are you here? Hi, Asmita. Ashmita's film Chandra, which she co-directed, is also streaming online. You've also hi Ashmita. Hi. You've also made a similar film, Galmo's House, like not similar entirely. Obviously, that's a documentary and this is fiction, but it has kind of a similarities in many ways. Like both of them were about earthquake that took place in 2015 in Nepal. So what was your motivation behind filming the story? I mean, since were you in UK and then you decided to come over to Nepal to film it? And how did it work for you?
In terms of Chandra or in terms
yes, Chandra.
Oh, okay. So for Chandra, actually, we enter into a competition from Asian Film Academy, which was open for alumni, for all the alumni for Asian Film Academy in 2015, I guess. And then we kind of enter a script competition. We got chosen in 2015, January, and so it was co-written and co-directed with one of my fellow filmmaker, Fatima Ahmadi, who is from Iran and based in London. So we kind of co-write the script and then come to Nepal, went to Nepal that time. And then in the middle of all the preparation, like co-production, pre-production, actual earthquake happened. And then we kind of moved to the other storyline because the script that we wrote together before, it was no longer relevant to the circumstances. So we had to kind of adapt this script into different film. So that's how it happened. So it was not intentional to shoot the film that time, but we kind of did it because we already got the budget in place for the script, and we had to deliver on October for Busan, and all these other things were in place already. A cinematographer, DOP, everybody was in Nepal already. So we had to push the kind of boundaries in our limitation in terms of adapting the script according to the situation we were in. So that's how it happened in Chandra, actually. So it was not intentional. It was totally circumstantial, I guess. Yeah.
It's always difficult in some ways when you're filming in a crisis, like during a time of crisis. Were there any things that you struggled with during that time at all while filming?
Yeah, I'm quite opposed to film crisis, to be honest, and I don't like that kind of thing that happens, and taking not really, like that's not really me like taking the crisis into our advantage to make something creative in terms of like art and outlet, but it is what it is. So I did that on I think on opposed to what I really wanted to do that time was not to film it, but we did it anyway. So I want to make it clear that that was not my intention while writing the script. So it was totally conditional, like circumstantial, obviously. But yeah, it was a learning curve for me to understand, like, you know, how people feel, or like how did I felt that time as a filmmaker, and to be in the in this space, which was quite vulnerable for everybody, for me, for the crew, for the actors, for my fellow filmmakers from Iran. So everybody was in quite a vulnerable position. So we kind of adjust each other's vulnerability, I guess, that time. And yeah, that's how it happens. But yeah, it was not intentional at all. And I don't want to actually impose anything creative or artistically in crisis situation, me myself, personally speaking.
Thank you so much. Are you working on any other documentaries at the moment?
At the moment, not really, because I'm at my work actually, so I took a break from my work. So yeah, I'm working completely different than anything creative at the moment. So I'm working in humanitarian purpose. So I'm in a refugee council at the moment. So I am working closely with the Afghan refugee and Iraqi, Irani, and Sudanese, and yeah, people from everywhere anyway. So I am quite far removed from my filmmaking career or anything creative, and I'm happy about it, actually. But yeah, hopefully I'll come back to film again.
Thank you so much, Asmita. I think we have a few questions for Sue and Belmaya as well. The question is, how is their filmmaking creative collaboration changing? Or is it now they have been making films together for a few years? Sue, would you like to answer that question? Oh, I think she's left already, or she might join us later. We also have a question for Sikuma. What has been the audience reaction to your film? Because you have brought to light a taboo topic about women's issue with alcohol addiction.
Hi, thank you for the question. The audience reaction has been really supportive and really kind words, because the women that I have represented or the culture that I represent in my documentary is something new for the mainstream Nepali media or Nepali documentary space. So definitely they have felt that I represented them, or my documentary or the women represented their own families, or the women from their family relatives, or families. So yeah, it has the audience have definitely felt like they've been they could relate to what my documentary represents. Another question was there a second follow-up question?
Because I think it mentions because you had brought to light a taboo topic about women's issue with alcohol addiction, and I think that was it really. Yeah. Thank you. I'd like to move on to LSM and Pinki now. Hi, LSM. Hi, Pinki. Hi.
Hi,
so maybe
Vivi.
just briefly tell us about your film. Obviously, it's Hajur is about a young mother who's actively working during the COVID pandemic time as well, and she's trying to juggle between her work and her household chores as well. How did you come about making this film, and what aspire to really?
So Hajur is a very subtle story about sacrifices women make or are forced to embrace. So like when you watch the movie, you realize that we have been witnessing stories of women like Sarita in the form of our mother, aunts, sisters, who have been forced to prioritize their family's needs above their own. So during a session where we were talking about these issues with Saharadi and Abhimanyu and Gautali Entertainment, we're talking about these issues, and then we thought of turning this idea into a film, and that is how this film was made. So anything?
Do you want to add into it?
Yeah, I think after the initial idea came, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so after the initial idea came, I think it was my job to present it to the audience. So we saw it during the post-pandemic thing when the effects of the pandemics were still on. So we had limitations in terms of crew and cast, and in terms of location we had to use on the movie. So one of the biggest challenges was I had to make a 10-minute movie. We had to make a 10-minute movie. We had written a script for a 10-minute movie that would sum up in a single room.
Right.
So to play upon the scenes, and I think that limitation really brought us, took a toll on our creativity, and I think it helped me. It helped us to use blocking and all the other sorts of things. And when we were discussing on the script, we also wanted it to be shot on a contemporary style that catered to the youth audience, because I think the youth are the generations of the tomorrow, and this film, one of the main audiences of the films are the youth, who are going to be a mother, who are going to be parents later on, and we wanted to shoot it in a style that makes sense to them, that intrigues them, and that is how it, and it is a really enjoyable process.
Yeah, right. Like especially in South Asian community, most people view that like taking care of family and like household chores is more of a women's responsibility, really. And I think it's in some way clearly depicted in your film as well. I think this was also filmed, like you mentioned, in the lockdown itself. Like, were there any challenges? Like you did mention about challenges, but do you think the budget and like team, like time, kind of affects the story in some ways at all? And did it affected yours?
I think if we had written the script previously and we had to make change, and the lockdown happened afterwards, and if we had to make adjustment afterwards, it would have affected. But we wrote it being based on the lockdown. So the script had prepared that way. So we did not have challenge in terms of changing the script, but certainly if there was no lockdown, we could have done it on a larger canvas. Because of the lockdown, we had to do it in a minimal way to create a maximum impact, I guess.
Right. Thank you so much. Are you planning on screening at any other venues at all?
I think right now, Gautam Entertainment is looking over to take it on a festival circuit. And after we are done with that, I think we'll show it on local basis. And we also want to showcase it to schools and colleges.
Right.
Take it to school and colleges and show it there to the students. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, thank you, LSM. I also want to take this opportunity to ask Pinki about your next film that you're working on, the short documentary. Could you just briefly just tell us about it, and then we can move on to Yajaswi.
Okay, so I'm working in this this personal documentary where So I come from this indigenous community called Mogar, and then I am a migrated Mogar from Gulmi, who migrated from Gulmi to Butwal and then to Kathmandu. So one thing that has still not changed from that migration and from all the education we've gotten is, I think, a little bit of resentment that we have towards the upper caste. Like my grandfather had a resentment towards upper caste, and it's the similar. It's similar for my father too. He has this resentment towards upper caste, and then that sort of has become a tradition and was passed down to me. And then I was like sort of questioning this resentment, like, where does this exist? Like, so this documentary is actually about exploring this resentment and sort of finding closure so that we can work on this. Like we have in Nepal, we have about 125 ethnic groups. And if we have resentment towards each of them, you know, it's not really the path we are looking to go towards. So it's sort of finding the closure we need for our community to, like, you know, live in harmony. So yeah, that is sort of the main idea.
That was really great. Yeah, thank you so much, Pinki. I think we have questions for you and Alassem as well. It says, has your film connected with young audiences as you intended? If so, where and how has it been screened?
Right now we have only screened, it was screened on Palme Film Festival, Nepal. And in that screen, it really connected to young females, especially. I think I'm not a female, and I made this movie, but I'm not female. But like Sikuma Didi said, after she made a documentary, she could relate to our characters. She could feel these characters, and I think after we wrote and directed the script, I think I could really feel what Sarita was going through, or look at her with a closer lens. And I think those young females who watched the film during the Palme Film Festival did connected with it, and I think some of them even came and congratulated Pinki and were grateful for her for making this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like my own mother is also a working mom, and I've seen her juggle between a 10 to 4 job as a teacher and this never-ending job as a mother, like wife, and this daughter-in-law. And then, and I know for a fact that this generation too might have to land in that position someday, and we wanted to address that issue to find you know, kind of a solution towards it. And that is how we wanted the young adults to relate to it, and I think it did make an impact towards them.
Thank you. Sometimes it's just, you know, like you just want the film just creates a space, creates a opportunity for like dialogues and just steers a conversation around it, and which is equally important as well. I think we have a question for Asmita. The question is, did your activism lead you to filmmaking, or did your filmmaking lead you to activism?
Oh, hello, hi. Sorry. Yeah, just to make sure that I am at, I am working. This is not activism. This is actually my job. So this is not activism. This is just helping people. One, and I don't really agree with activism. Like this, the thing that activism, I think, the outlet of activism, I don't agree with them. Like, so I am not an activist. Just make it. I like to make it clear that I'm working. This is my actual job. This is how I live. So, but yeah, in terms of filmmaking, I really actually was really. I felt like I was really in the bubble of like filmmaking and bubble of creative. I always like get close to people as a filmmaker, I think that is a character that you have to, as a documentary filmmaker especially, you have to understand people, and I like to engage with them. I like to engage with people, animal as well. I don't care, but so it's just like that kind of, and like while making filmmaking and while writing and while doing all these festival rounds and, you know, all these trainings and all these things, it kind of like removed me from the actual experience of the society we live in, if that make any sense. So I want to like experience different world, and I knew people working there, people working here. So I applied for it and I got the job. So I'm really happy what I'm doing at the moment. So it's just making me more and more grounded, I would say. Obviously, I will go back to filmmaking. I'm still like doing some stuff like, you know, on the side, but not like leading it as my lifestyle at the moment. So so yeah, just to make sure, like I like to make myself clear that this is not activism, this is my work. So this is actually a refugee center. So nothing here is activism. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Asmita. I think we have a question, and it's an open question. So if anyone would want to answer, you may as well. So it says, can you give us an idea of the filmmaking scene in Nepal? Is there state support for independent filmmaking? Would anyone want to answer this? I think I'm not really sure about this thing. I think filmmaking scene in Nepal, we have mostly independent filmmakers, but there are like filmmakers who've made it to you know, Oscar and other festivals as well. And the government of Nepal, they do, like, we have a film development board, and they do support filmmakers, not financially, not directly, but they've been creating a platform, giving out like spaces for young filmmakers, like even the British Council Camera Seeker project that I've been working on. The project is also supported by the Film Development Board in Nepal. So they have been quite active into like supporting young filmmakers as well, but they're not in the state of supporting the filmmakers financially. So I hope that answers your question. So I think I would like to move on to Yajaswi now. You know, like, hi Yajaswi, are you there? You know, in like, hi Yajaswi. In Sikuma's film, you know, like a middle-aged women were finding solace in sips of like homemade liquor, whereas like someone like Rukshana Kapali, the LGBT activist and a trans woman from the capital of Nepal, is in a way still fighting for her space. So she is the protagonist of the film Pahichan, directed by Yajaswi. You know, like, often my question is, oftentimes when we see things we don't really agree with, we choose to remain silent, especially in my case. Like, I'm not really vocal about things that really bothers me at times, and I'm not really proud of it. And it obviously takes a lot of courage to fight and to speak about things that you care the most. So what actually motivates you to do the kind of job you've been doing, and also like in bringing out story of Rukshana's, you know? So if you'd like to answer that just briefly.
Okay, sure. So I think my movie journey started when I was a student of development studies, and it was not like I had to make movies. I had to do any kind of project in my project work studies, and I decided to make movies because I decided to make a movie because at that period of time there was a blockade going on. in Nepal. And then that's when I realized that my friends who were studying here in Kathmandu did not have enough money and did not have enough of resources to stay here more because of the inflation and because of everything, every economic things going on and all those vehicle sanctions going on. So at that period of time, that was the first time I realized that my creativity could be used in a particular way that I can show to people, like how different people are struggling. And then that's and every movie I make, I try to give a solution to it, like be it a documentary. How Pahichan ends is like it gives a strong statement of Rukhsana saying that though I might be the first case, I should not be the last case of the struggle. And so like that's oh yeah, that's how the entire documentary ends. So I think for everything I do, when we have a purpose of doing something, or let me not generalize, what I do is I have a particular purpose of making my films. So whenever I make a movie, whenever I write something, or whenever I make a documentary, I focus my documentaries, especially in gender, children and youths. So I have a purpose of making it, and as far as possible, I want to get it reached to more people, more audiences, so they can at least get a small hint of what's going in that society. And then if it can bring about any changes, it will definitely bring those changes. That's what I believe in. So I believe that film is a very strong medium. So okay, this is very out of topic, but then when America was losing the Cold War, and then how it invested in Hollywood, and how right now the whole Indian industry is investing in Bollywood, like explains how movies and how soft power works. So in Nepal, we cannot talk about that big changes at this very moment, but I think where Pahichan has reached, like it's reached more than 11 countries and done a very good things. Just today also, like after quite very long, Rukhsana messaged me that the movie is getting to greater audiences and she's getting famous. And then we discussed about her recent petitions also, but then the encouragement she's getting personally, and then the visibility the entire issue is getting. I think that's what motivates me to make movies and documentaries like this.
Thank you so much, Yajaswi. I wanted to know how much Rukhsana was involved in the making of the film. Was she also involved? Because in case of Sue's I Am Belmaya, even like Belmaya was one of the co-director of the film itself. So like I wanted to know how involved was she? Like, did she had any creative like decision at all in the film?
Pahichan was my first documentary, and it was actually I was actually a student of a project called Her Story by the Accountability Lab from Nepal. And then that was one of the project where we did those things, and I was one of the participants. My team was one of the participants, and I think also due to that, Rukhsana did not know, or like did not have anything before I proposed the film. Like, I wanted to make a documentary about this this thing. Like, is it? I asked my teachers, and they were like, okay, fine. Then that was only the point. Rukhsana, I asked Rukhsana if I could make documentaries, and then after a week we started the project itself. So we did not have. It was my first time, so I did not know what to do and how to talk with the protagonist of a documentary or anything. So Rukhsana was definitely not very involved in the pre-processing or during making the film. She was just guiding us through her stories, and then leading us to different people and everything of the rights of the movements. But the movie making part was solely into the accountability labs, our teams, and then Onion Films part mostly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know, like I can totally, in a way, kind of relate to it as well, because I'm also making a kind of a very personal documentary myself, which involves me, my mother, and my grandmother as well. And a lot of the time while I was filming it, I used to like kind of show the footages to my mother, and like she reacted very differently. Like she didn't want that particular scene to be put up in the video, you know, and that made sense, obviously, because I also have to think about her, like take her consent as well. But at some point I decided not to show it to her. And that's because like she was just seeing a bits of the scenes of the entire clip, you know, which didn't really make sense. So now I've decided to like try and sit down and edit and then put a piece together and then show it to her, you know, like obviously if she
Yeah.
doesn't acknowledges, she doesn't like it, I'm obviously going to change it. But then sometimes I guess it's also important to like, you know, because to have that, I don't know how to call it, to have that thing in mind and just not show it to anyone at all, in the beginning at least. If that makes sense. Well, thank you so much. I think we have another question. Okay, I'm not sure who is which. Okay, as a filmmaker myself, I feel like I take so much from my subjects, their stories, and I feel like I don't give them enough. We're making money off their lives, their cultures, and their suffering, and we get to travel with our films and make a career out of their stories. Do you deal with this too? So how do we as a filmmaker deal with it? Wow, that's an intense question. It's open to anyone. Yeah, just me if you'd like to answer, and maybe anyone, Asmita, could answer this one as well.
I would like to answer that. I think like getting back to the previous one, like why did I took something like a job as a this job is like I couldn't deal with the whole like, you know, film festival and like, you know, funding and different agendas and all those things. Like I really couldn't. I get really frustrated, and also like I never so this is my alternative way of living in terms of like, you know, making money so I can go out and make my own films, obviously. But I never leave out of filmmaking. That was never my career to earn money. So that was my, I would say, passion. So in terms of like going to festivals and traveling around with your films, I think like you have to really, that is a very subjective question. So it depends on like each filmmakers and how you take a filmmaking career as a path. And there is a very blurred line between what's ethical and what's not as a filmmaker. So that's a bit of a like subjective question. So it depends on like each person. For me, yeah, you do realize, yeah, I think like everybody kind of realize like when you take a subject or a character in your documentary or a cast or a story, it's quite personal, and then you got to go and like, you know, have a fame. I would say like not really money wise, but even like, you know, bringing to festivals and like, you know, going to shows and, you know, doing this kind of Q&As and everything. You are in the front line all the time, like, you know, the characters are just in the background. So it does make a little bit of I don't know, issue within, I think, like dilemma within sometimes, for me at least. I'm not sure about, I'm not representing other filmmakers. Probably they will feel different than me, but for me, definitely there is that kind of issue, ethical issue of like, you know, representing your character in your film, but not really basically outside of the film. You are always on the foreground to speak on behalf of them. So yeah, it depends on each filmmakers how they deal with it. For me, I get really frustrated by that similar kind of ethical issues regarding filmmaking and characters within. That's why I kind of detach myself from that whole process, and I'm much happier than where I was before. Yeah.
Thanks Thanks, Asmita. I think you answered it very wonderfully. I think I have a question for myself now. How many members of the Nepali female filmmakers group are there? What are the main challenges that you face as a feminist film collectively working and creating change in Nepal? Is your work valued and recognized by the mainstream film industry? I think,
Prasna,
yes.
Can I also take the earlier question? I'll just answer very short.
Go ahead.
So I think as a filmmaker, what I have started feeling is definitely I feel that I'm very giving, but because I'm also an entrepreneur, and sometimes I have money, and whenever I have money, I donate. So, but as a filmmaker, I think there's a line where we should draw about what we are doing. So as a filmmaker, it's not just, where does our responsibility ends is one of the answers we should be answering ourselves, so that we do not carry the guilt of taking advantage of people. So if we are representing, and if we are already there to amplify the voices that needs to be gone in the society, and if we are doing the speaker's job, or if we are doing the job of the amplifiers, then I think we should not carry that guilt about we are making someone's films and then taking money out of them. And definitely we're not taking at the moment, we're not that great of filmmakers. But then I think we should definitely be there to draw a line and then know what we are doing, and what we are doing is enough, because at last it's also about us, and then it's also about individuals that we have to look after, and then everything. I think that the guilt that we are carrying should not, guilt and responsibility we are carrying should not be hampering ourselves at the first place.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. Pinki or Ellison, any one of you want to answer, or I can go on to next. Okay, I think we're almost at the end of the session anyways. So I'll just answer the last question that was for me. Well, Nepali female filmmakers, this group was just recently established. I think it's probably been about 2 years or something, because we thought that there was a need to have this platform and space for Nepali women filmmakers in Nepal, you know. And recently, I think we've had a very good response from a lot of the media houses, like organizations and everything in general. It hasn't been that bad, at least for now, and it's doing wonderfully well. We're also been doing this session here with the Cinema of Ideas, and which is in fact a very big thing for us and also for the filmmakers in Nepal in general. So there's not been any issues or as such, but let's really hope for the best. And then Selena, thank you so much for giving us this platform. Really, you've been so wonderful this whole time, and even Akia and Sami as well. So I'd just like to say thank you to you all. And now I'd like to hand over to Selena.
Thank you, Prasna. Thank you so much for moderating such a lively, brilliant discussion, just really wide-ranging, and there were quite a few people, you know, filmmakers. So thank you so much for taking us through that. And thank you also to all the filmmakers who were here with us this evening, who spared their time. We're super, super grateful. And yeah, it was just a really interesting conversation to find out about what's going on in Nepal, but also, you know, ideas around ethics around filmmaking, and you know, safe space for women to come forward. All these things are so important as we kind of bring forward more kind of female voices into the industry. So I'm going to close the session now, but yeah, I just wanted to remind people that the films are screening until the 17th of March. So please do go on to the Cinema of Ideas website and watch them. And also when you buy your ticket, you can also listen to our discussion tonight. So yeah, that's it. Just I'm going to sign out now, and thank you once again for all our filmmakers, and also Prasna for moderating a really fabulous discussion. And we will see you again soon.